Friends, Brian here for Pontiac Strong, your personal training, private gym, private training facility in the Pontiac region in Quebec. Today, we want to talk a little bit about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, because there's a lot of confusion out there. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown. I'm going to explain some things here. Of course, when people start here at Pontiac Strong, especially if they're not familiar with eating good, working out, we like to get people in, start exercising, feeling good, feeling better, bringing down if they're in any chronic pain, bringing that down, bringing their inflammation down, teaching them how to eat healthy, getting them stronger, starting to get their body fat down. But then as we go, we have to look more into things as people want to keep losing body fat. Body fat. I don't like using the term weight. I need to lose weight. Well, what are we losing? Are we losing muscle, bone, whatever? No. We want to lose body fat. So at some point, we have to sit down and talk about carbohydrates. A lot of people get really confused with carbohydrates. So when I have clients and after a few months, we start sitting down, paying more attention to their carbohydrate count, because you know, when people start working out and they start eating healthy, they tend to lose body fat, they're getting stronger, they're feeling better. But at some point, we gotta look into things a little bit further. So carbohydrates, okay? I'm gonna draw this jackass here, okay? Now, I'm not really a good artiste. Okay, that's the face. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. Stick figure, that's about the extent of my capabilities here. So when you eat carbs, especially the starchy carbs, okay? Rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, all that stuff, your body will store some of it as fuel. It's called glycogen, okay? Okay, just think of that as stored carbohydrate energy in your body. We'll store some in the muscles. Jesus, I can't draw. Look at this. Okay. Okay, got your muscles here, your legs. Look at this, eh? This guy looks like he needs to start working out. Your body will store a little bit of it in your muscles, a little bit. And of course, the more muscle tissue you have, the more carbohydrates you can store. But also your liver, okay? So I can't draw a liver to save my life, so we're just going to draw this little square here, okay? In case anyone gets confused, liver. Okay, that's your fuel tank for your carbohydrate energy. Your liver will fill up and be your gas tank for carbohydrates. Same thing with your muscles. Your muscles will hold a little bit, but your liver stores the majority of it. But what happens is once we pass that, the liver's full, the muscles are full, what happens to those carbohydrates, folks? Now, so I often tell a lot of clients, you know, when you go home after a hard workout, have a bit of carbs, your post-recovery shake. It'll also help with your recovery. And then after, have a bit of carbohydrate. When I say carbohydrate, I mean the high glycemic carbohydrates, okay? Rice, pasta, potato, all that other stuff. The low glycemic stuff like vegetables, that's a whole different ballgame, okay? But have a bit of that in your post-workout meal, okay? So let's say someone comes here to Pontiac Strong, they have a really intense workout, right? So they go home after their workout, they've had an intense workout here, they're depleted. They go home, bit of carbs in the post-workout shake, then they have a bit of carbs with their post-workout meal. The liver fills up, the muscles fill up again, everyone's happy. But here's the problem. So let's say after that, dinner time rolls around, you're like, I'm going to have a big old plate of spaghetti. Okay, so if you eat the big plate of spaghetti and your carb storage is already full, that's going to spill over into fats. And then even worse for some people, if they're snacking on things during the week that they know they shouldn't be, okay, a lot of high glycemic carb meals, eating a lot of chips and dip. I don't know where you guys live, but around here, the chippy chips and the dippy dip and the poppy pop are very popular. So if you're eating that and you keep pushing past what your capacity is for carbohydrates, it's going to be converted to fat. So let's say after your post-workout meal, you got a bit of pasta, a bit of rice, whatever, that's fine. But then after that, later in the day, you eat a whole bunch of bread, you got a big old plate of pasta or something. Well, what's that going to turn to, right? And then, what if after that you're like, I really need a dessert. The chippy chips. Come calling me in the night. I gotta eat my chippy chips. Okay, so this is why we have to also start looking at how much carbohydrates we're consuming as we go with the training and the diet. Okay, we really want to keep our carbohydrates more around our workouts and right after our workout. And then depending on the person, we have some people here who are trying to put on muscle mass, who don't have really any excess body fat. That might be a different protocol, but for people who have excess body fat, A lot of people are insulin resistant. And that's a whole other video. We want to be careful with our carb intake. So our heavier carbs, we consume them right after a workout, and maybe a little bit in our post-workout meal, and then that's it. Okay, if you're eating tons of carbs on days you're not active, you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix or not working out or not moving, what's going to happen, folks? I mean, really, I know for a lot of people are very confused, but this really is not rocket science. So we have to be very careful with that, okay? So as we go with clients, especially if they've been struggling with food and if they're overweight, have been carrying excess body fat, we have to start being mindful of the carbs that they're consuming, okay? And we have to start monitoring our carbs. Look at the nutrition content, okay? When you read a label, look at it. If it's got tons of carbs, what are you doing, right? Especially if there's no fiber, okay? We'll get into this in another video, but you really have to watch your carbohydrate consumption because, you know, a little bit of carbs can be good if they're used properly. If you're eating too many, you're going to have a lot of problems. Quick little rundown about carbohydrates and why you got to be careful when you consume carbs. All right, this is Brian signing off. You guys have a great day and have a great weekend.